What's going on, people? Welcome to the live match reaction. Palace 1, United 2. Another defeat, back-to-back defeats now. 2 goals conceded in the second half once again as well after chances created in the first half that we didn't take. So we're going to go through it all. As always, if you enjoy the stream despite the result, please do hit the like button. It does help us out, as well as subscribing if you're new. And feel free to call into the show. The lines are open. Well, I mean, the link is posted.
Come on. We talked about it last time, didn't we? Those are lies. There are no such things as lines.
Yeah. You can call in by clicking on the link in the live comment section. And yeah, I'll quickly start off. I'm very pissed off. I'm extremely pissed off. I'm more pissed off than I should be. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe some people are less pissed off than me. Chances in the first half, once again, not good in front of goal. Second half, absolutely shocking. One of the worst second halves I've seen at Selhurst Park in a very long time. I can't remember us playing that badly in the second half of a game before. We look clueless out there. Some of the subs that people keep talking about that should come on. Uche, what did he do? Nketiah didn't do much. And you can tell why Deveni barely plays. So, yeah. To add on top of that, Ismaila Sarr looks like he's out injured. Well, he was injured, and Glasner added after the game that he could be out until after the AFCONs, in terms of we might not see him till after the AFCONs, which adds to that. And let's be honest, Uche, he looks shit technically, in my opinion. Even when he's come on against Alkmaar, he looked good physically, so you can understand why he's not playing. Deveni at best is a squad player and has been. No one really talks about him as an option. There's a reason for that. And SA needs a loan. So we've got 3 attackers. We've got others adding numbers out on the bench. And we've got God knows how many games to get through till January. I don't think we strengthened clearly. Not good enough. Glasner said it after the game as well. The manager that's won it to us. In terms of numbers, we need more numbers. I'll read out his exact quotes as well. I read it briefly, but he's not happy with the numbers as well in terms of attackers. And yeah. I mean, bring on Burnley, I guess.
There's a lot there, isn't there? Do you know what? Like when you think about everything you've just said, and you combine that with, we played Man United today, who are, with the greatest of respect, their form is better than it was, but they're still not a good side, right? Let's be honest, not a good. We didn't play a good team today. And then you look at some of the typical Palace stuff that we're trying to put that to one side, but we do typical Palace things and we still do it. Xerxes hasn't scored in nearly a year, scores today. How he scores is just so unlike us. And then you've also got Mason Mount scoring a free kick. And the way we defended that free kick, the wall in particular, we don't associate Glasner's Palace with a wall turning their backs and jumping out of the way of the ball, do we? We don't associate ourselves with that, a lack of organisation. There's a lot of things that went really wrong today. And you make a really good point about the bench. And I've seen it in a lot of comments from a lot of people, not just social media, message boards, all that kind of stuff. Lots of people over the course of time saying we need to rotate the squad. And I think Glasner is getting closer and closer to being more direct about this, but he doesn't believe in the squad. He doesn't think he's got enough. He can, take a defender off and put a defender on and not lose too much, right? But in the attacking positions, we don't have anything to change it. And when Sarr drops form or is injured, his directness and his pace, once that's out of the team, everybody else looks worse. So I was going to say this today, right? So I was just adding that to you've said a lot of things that I probably would have said, right? And like you, I'm annoyed. I didn't like that today. I really didn't like it on Thursday night either. Watching us, start a game reasonably well and then just fall apart. So, look, we waste chances, right? We know that. We're wasting a bunch of chances. Really, really good opportunities. So first half today, we're talking about the Man United game, so I'm not going to talk about the past, but let's talk about today, right? Mateta's early one-on-one. It's another one-on-one he's missed, but if he hadn't, still today, unacceptable to miss that the way he did. Absolutely awful, right? Pino misses a pretty easy chance, hitting it straight at the keeper. Could have put that in a number of different places. Nketiah so hesitant with one of his chances. So there's 3 good chances in the first half. Honestly, we should have scored. You know, at any level, you'd be sad to miss those, but missing all 3 of those is absolutely awful, right? Add that to the fact that we scored a penalty. So you could argue we should have scored 4 in the first half. We scored 2 in that first half. That game is different. Okay, it's a totally different game. There's no point saying that because it wasn't, and we have to play the game that's in front of us. We only scored with a penalty today, and we had to take that twice. So the confidence and the rhythm seems to have gone. And I said and thought a lot of F words today, right? Including we're watching that game. But the 2 most important for me that we need to think about is one that's kind of been denied by the camp to some degree, but now seemingly reinforced, and that's fatigue. Everyone's saying it, you know, fatigue, tiredness, playing, you know, people playing too often. That's definitely a factor because we around the 70-75 minute mark, we start to struggle, and you've got to make changes, and our bench isn't really doing anything off with those opportunities. But form, I think people forget form so often. People keep really focused on tactics and systems and one-on-ones and individual performances in general. But we forget form, and form is a very real thing in football, and it's connected to the biggest factor, and that is confidence and momentum, right? We have been knocked out of that real groove that we were in of turning up, you know, Sunday, Thursday, play, winning games, you know, scoring late to save defeats, that kind of stuff, that real fight that was there. And we never really felt going into games that we were going to lose. And that's why this is hard today. And it was hard on Thursday because actually we didn't have it in us, did we? We didn't have it in us to take the blow of conceding a goal and go straight back at them. We didn't have it in us to turn the tide like Man United turned the tide today. So you go back to that question of, are players tired? Yeah, clearly they're tired. They're playing a lot of football, but they're very fit athletes, and small margins make a difference. For me, our confidence has been hit, and we're playing like a team that doesn't quite believe like it did and doesn't quite work together like it did. People aren't digging each other out of bad situations anymore. Little mistakes are creeping in here and there, and you know, we've got to go back. I hate saying go back because you don't really ever go back. You just try to, you know, repeat what you did before. So, but it is a case of the management getting hold of the players and saying, okay, like we're the architects of our own downfall here by missing all these chances. But that's not what this is all about. It's not just about missing chances. It's about how you work together as a team, who's got who's back, and absolutely show them that free kick over and over and over. And the people in that wall say, what were you doing? Explain yourselves. And if you can't, apologise to your teammates. Apologise to your goalkeeper who's screaming at you to get in the right position and you're just not doing it, because that's not good enough at Premier League level. And that's why we lost the game today. That's it. That's all it was. Not doing the things that we've been doing all season in the right way. Not playing as a team, not thinking clearly. And look, we got problems there. You brought it out. When you start looking at that bench, you know, Uche, you're right. If we're a team that have the luxury of waiting a year, like we did with Kamada, if we want to wait a year for somebody to get up to speed, then great. But that problem it's not. We haven't given Glasner a player for now. We're giving him a player for next season, and he might not even be here. So what's the point in him? That was a bad signing because he's not ready now. So, you know, again, if you're backing your manager, it's not about just giving him players. It's about giving him players that he can use right now that he needs, and that's what we got to do January to deal with this situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you do in December?
Well, in December, you have to pull everybody together. Right now, everyone's got to kind of just accept. You know what? You know, we're still in all competitions, right? We're still there, but you know, 2, 3, 4 more performances like this, and you know, we're not far off being in a position. We're looking now in all competitions. We're competitive, right? But we're not far off being in a position where we could be struggling in the playoffs in the Conference League, where we shouldn't be in the playoffs in the Conference League. We should be, you know, automatically through that situation. We could be out of the Carabao Cup, and we could be heading into the lower half of the table. And all of a sudden, this amazing final potential season with Glasner, or the season that convinces him to hang around, all of a sudden the wheels are off and you start thinking, well, where does this end? And we've got to be careful because we're Palace, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. We won the FA Cup last year, and that is an incredible thing for us to do. And we have to be realistic about how much we can achieve, because we like to dream. We believe this manager's been incredible for us, and we think we can achieve everything. But we have to allow ourselves, once we get over the frustration of the day. My face is very red. I'm really annoyed.
I don't know if my face is red, but you can probably hear it from my voice or my facial expressions. I don't know. I'm just very pissed off. I even said it after the Strasbourg game. Even if we did win this game, that game was still annoying. The manner that we lost, and then come to this game and similar shit. It just, in fact, it's not, because in the second half we created nothing.
That's it.
In the second half, and that's what makes it more annoying when Everton, who had 10 men not too long ago against United, away from home at United's ground, ended up beating these lot 1-0. But we created like nothing against them. Like in the second half, United side are not even that good.
No, they made an adjustment at half time, which meant we just didn't see. Think about this, right? How often did you see Munoz and Mitchell going down the outside? Like they do. I can't remember it happening. I'll have to have a look. I've not looked at the stats or anything like that. I've been too mad. But like, I don't remember seeing it in the second half. I don't remember seeing the overlap. And there were a lot of poor performances today as well. We could dig a few players out, really. I think Kamada for the first goal. I haven't really seen him be that weak for a long time, but it was really weak, really bad defending, like just going to move. If you see it again, he's going to block the shot about an hour before the shot gets taken. He's just like that, and he's got his hands tucked behind his back. It's like you die to stop that ball coming across. He's your man. You've gone to him. Like, look at Luke Shaw on Nketiah later on. Nketiah should have shot earlier, but he's just gone steaming in, slid across. He's stopping that at all counts. And when you're pointing at Man United and you're pointing at Luke Shaw defending with more intensity and aggression than your defense, then I think you got problems, because that's not what we're about. We're not about standing off a player and allowing him to score from that angle. You've got players in the middle. And again, I'm not digging him out, because Henderson probably didn't expect that shot, but should do better. You got Chris Richards standing in the middle of the goal. He should be on that line. He should be aware to that, and he can clear that off the line, because that angle, you shouldn't score from that angle. Great shot from Xerxes, but that's the only good shot he's hit in a year. So I understand we might not be expecting it, but you're professionals. So lots of stuff was poor today. Our midfield was poor. Our defence, I thought Gay was actually brilliant, to be honest with you. The amount of interceptions and organisation he did. But we were just exposed over and over again. They found our weaknesses, and some of those weaknesses existed purely because that confidence and that rhythm, that momentum has gone. It exposes you when that happens. And we've got to, we've got to take a look at ourselves as a team and just accept not good enough. Standards that have been up here have dropped. And you can't point fingers. I mean, you can point fingers, let's face it. Who do you want to point at? Nketiah, terrible, absolutely terrible today off the bench. Could have been subbed. Could have subbed a sub. Pino, awful today. And look, he's allowed, because he's still going to take. It's the same thing I said about Uche. He's a really good player, which means he's playing week in, week out. But he's not up to the standard of the Premier League week in, week out yet. So, it's a mad thing, isn't it? When you think about recent times when you're losing to Man United at home, and you're thinking, oh, we've just lost to a really poor team here, and they're celebrating like they've won a trophy. It's an amazing kind of shift of power in football, how things have gone for them and for us. But today was a real poor performance from us.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm probably expecting a bit more of this till January. Till we sign a player anyway. Maybe beyond January, depending on how serious we are as a football club. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's bring on the first guest. Let's bring on Tim. He hasn't got long. Tim?
Yeah, I gotta run in a minute here. Let me just quickly say, I was only able to listen to the audio commentary. it sounded like the intensity went, and with it, the decision making went right along with it in the second half. I will say I disagree on one thing, Hambo. I don't think the standards have dropped. I don't think the manager's standards have dropped, but the players did not live up to those standards. So I don't think
I meant players standards. No way that's
got it.
dropped. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And it seems like he was absolutely fuming on the sidelines, and I don't blame him. I'll give one positive and then I have to go. Now we're going to find out. Your point is a good one, D. Like, December is going to be absolutely dreadful. So now we're going to find out, as a manager who has limited resources, and what he can do to shake things up and get a tune out of this team, because what we're doing right now is not working. I'm not saying that Romain Esse is up to standard. I'm not saying that Cristantis Uche is up to standard, but something will change. He will have to do some things a little bit differently. And, it's back to the old Ollie Glasner of, if you play that against us again, we will solve it. So now it is we are in a situation that requires genuine creative solutions, a top manager who knows how to do something different and get something different out of a team where he's got some real limitations. So what's going to happen? I don't know, but I expect to see some things that are a little weird, and we'll see if we get anything out of that. I don't know. But I do trust this manager, and I do think he is going to demand a lot more. My main question is going to be, is he usually doesn't dig out individual players. He usually doesn't really dig out the players that much anyway after a match. So will he do that this time? Don't know.
He hasn't done that. He didn't blame the players today. Today he blamed more about the ownership. He's saying the players gave their heart. There's only so much they could do. We don't have enough. So he hasn't blamed the players today.
Oh, he is calling for more in January, which he did in his last. He did in his last press conference. He said that you need another player. He specifically said you need another player who can give you runs in behind the way Ismail Yassar does. He said it in the last press conference. Got asked it directly, and he said yes twice. That he needs that. I think he needs at least that, to be honest. But
not just that, I think we need to get rid of players as well. If Uche is not going to contribute, which it seems like he won't be, send them back. Like, there's no point. I don't want players. I feel like we have players on a bench for the sake of them being there to add up numbers. Esse, clearly he needs a loan. He's not ready. If he can't come on today when we're losing, he clearly needs a loan. You can tell that it's impacting other players. It's impacting the stars. Mateta needs a rest, but he can't get a rest because there's barely anyone else there that could really cover him. The only player that he can really trust is Nketiah coming off the bench. So we just need a clear out. We need to not be cheap. Come to centre backs, we're fine with that area. That's fine. I mean, midfield, we got depth there as well. But attackers, it's not good enough. And then today, when you're barely creating any chances, especially when Saar went off, now that Saar's gone, I mean, this was always going to happen with the AFCONs, but we're going to miss him more than the AFCONs, it seems like, as the swelling is quite significant. I don't want us to play any games in January. You go out there and you solve this problem. And hopefully there has been, Matt Hobbs hasn't been announced, but the expectation is that after the summer window closed, that he was in charge and he was going to run the show. So hopefully someone's there, because I don't want to see Parish running in another transfer window, because the last one in the summer was just shambles.
There was some rumour that Hobbs is going to go before he even starts, kind of thing. I can't remember where it came from.
I don't buy that. I think that's an Alan.
I saw that once. I saw that once as well. So I don't know how true that is, though. I
don't buy that. I'm not buying that at all. I've seen also the that Glasner is in, there's a discussion about trying to get Sasha Bowie in. I don't know. I mean, I hope you're right about this, that we are going to go out and do the business. We need to do more business. There is no question about that. But for me, I mean, I'll just give you a couple of stats here. I think we did create enough chances and did not take them. So here are the stats that I've got. This is from The Athletic. 14 shots apiece, but Man United gets 6 on target. Palace only get 3 on target. Chances created, Palace creates 8. Man United create 9. 4 corners apiece. Possession, I mean, they had more of the ball, 57% to 43%. So it's not like we didn't have the ball, not like we didn't have chances to put it in the back of the net. But when you don't put those chances in the back of the net, you're in trouble. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we know this, but I don't know. I don't know who we're going to get. We definitely do need more players in January, but we've got to do something in December. And this manager will have to figure out some way to get a tune out of players that he's gotten no tune out of yet. I think we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, I got to run, and there's a lot of people who are lined up. So yeah, I'm always up the Palace, but man, very frustrating today.
Yeah, it was frustrating. Take care, Tim.
You too.
Let's
He said, "See you guys." Just to make clear, you just. Did you want to?
Well,
I know we're bringing somebody on. Did you want to say Glasner's comments? You threatened to say them, and you haven't yet. Did you want to say them before we bring someone on?
I threatened to say them. It's funny.
Yeah.
I can say them right now. Here we go. So Glasner, on the lack of squad depth, he said the following. This is according to Ed Aarons. It's clearly our fault. We missed the chances to strengthen squad in the summer, but nothing happened. We would have wished for a bit more in terms of new signings. There's no fault with players because they are leaving their heart on the pitch. So he mentioned that we should have had more. And then in terms of Sarr's injury, the latest is that we all have to assess him further, but the ankle is quite swollen, so I think he will miss a few games. Maybe we won't see him again before the AFCON. So yeah, he's clearly not blaming the players. He's blaming a lack of signings. And yeah, my response to that is basically in January. Hopefully, see Pash not running the show. Hopefully, we've learned from the summer till here, because yeah, summer window wasn't great. Let's bring on Animal. If you're enjoying the stream as well, people, please do hit the like button if you haven't already done so. And you can also call in as well by clicking on the link in the live comment section. Animal, disappointing defeat, another 2-1 defeat, another game with 2 goals conceded in the second half. I'm quite frustrated. Hambo is a bit more level-headed than me right now. Well, you know, he's saying maybe, but he is. What's your stance on the game?
Yeah, I think, you know, Hambo, I agree with everything that Hambo said, absolutely everything he said. But I think this has got a lot to do with tiredness, the amount of games that we're playing, the internationals, the European games that we're playing. It's all adding up, and it's taking its toll. This is a common theme now, where we are having a decent game in the first half and throwing it away in the second through lethargic play. And like, our passing wasn't where it needed to be in the second half. That, you know, that's that for a start. I was unimpressed with Nketiah as well. Like I want him to do well, but he runs around like a headless chicken a lot of the time, and we need more composure from him. That man, any one of us buries that. Hambo would bury that chance. It's outrageous, and he's got Shaw in his peripheral vision the whole time. He can see him coming because of the angle in which he's positioned before he takes a shot. So I don't know why he's taken so long to set himself. It's absolutely ridiculous. But if we get even one of those goals, then, you know, we're in a much stronger position going into the second half. And yeah, this is where we're at as a team at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you think happened in the second half then? Yes, we didn't take those chances, but in the second half, we barely created any chances in comparison to the first half.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you know, when you're tired, your passing accuracy dips, your decision making goes down. And I think the momentum after they scored, they rode on, and we couldn't get back into the game. It's much like Hambo said, we didn't quite have the fight and the energy to push us past that barrier into getting maybe the second goal or even an equaliser. We didn't look much like scoring. It was a shame. It was a poor second half to watch.
Yeah, I thought if we played another 45 minutes, we still wouldn't have scored. We barely created any chances. And to be fair, the only positive today, I guess, if you want to pick any positives, is that United, in terms of like chances in front of goal, apart from set pieces, they didn't create a ton of chances either. But we still look shaky. They did have transition moments, but I'm just more looking at us in terms of our chances created because completely dipped. Now with Saar potentially out for God knows how long now because of AFCONs as well, what do you do? Because I keep saying the same thing, it feels like, after Strasbourg, but the bench was always a concern for me. SA clearly not ready. Uche, Glazer doesn't rate him enough. And even today, he looks like a physical player, not a technical player. So when United are sitting back, I don't know how much you could offer. And then the Ven who did come on, but no one really talks about him. He's another attacking option, but there's a reason for that. I don't know how many people think he can be a starter. I don't think he can be a starter. I think his ceiling is a squad player in the Premier League. So what do you do now for Oliver Glasner? The Saar dilemmas happened a bit earlier with fatigue kicking in as well.
I've got a little bit to say about this, and maybe we can hash it out. But like, I first of all, I don't think Uche is a 10. He may have been in La Liga, but he's not a 10 in the Premier League. He's a big boy. He's he's not as technically gifted like you were saying, and I think he needs to be a target player if we're going to be playing him. He needs to be the Mateta replacement now that Saar isn't on the pitch. If that is how we're going to utilize him before January comes around. I also think that maybe Daichi will be the one to move up into the right 10 position because seeing what I don't know how many times can we watch Eddie have a performance like that. By the way, I agree that Daichi could have done way more, and it was poor defending on that first goal. But the first half was good. It was a good display from the centre midfielders in the first half. So, I don't think Daichi had a great second half, but none of us did. But yeah, I think Daichi is probably the one to move up, and we have to add a man in the central midfield to play alongside Walton, Hughes, or Lerma maybe. Remember that period of time where we had both Hughes and Walton playing, two left-footed central midfielders? We had a really good run, but obviously we had Star in the team. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no other real options, is there? I don't know. I think Kamada pushing up, and then he trusts Kamada enough, and he trusts Nketiah. I don't see it being people. Patrick, for example, I'll mention him. He was saying he was going to get a run in surely around this time. Uche, and we saw Uche did come on today, but I don't know how many games he's going to, for example, play. I know there's a lot of other people that say the same thing. When Saar's gone, Uche is going to step up, and they're going to get an opportunity then, and they have to prove themselves. But I don't know if they're really going to get an opportunity. I don't know how many opportunities that they will get because there's a reason they haven't played so far. And Glazer clearly thinks they're not ready. Glazer's not an idiot. Like, he knows that there's fatigue that plays a part. He even mentioned that the players left their heart on the pitch. There's nothing in terms of what they could have done differently. But there's no point of playing a player which is not going to contribute positively. And that's what it feels like, clearly, with SA and Uche, for example. So we haven't got that many options. I think Kamada is a decent shout, and maybe Nketiah could be the player coming off the bench still with Kamada pushing forward, because in midfield area we do have numbers, so maybe you can rotate there. But then again, with Kamada starting, you got Hughes and Lerma coming off the bench. So yeah, we should be fine there. But let's see. How do you feel about Burnley now after 2 defeats? Massive game, right?
I think it's a game where we have the opportunity to gain a bit of momentum back, or to at least start a new train of momentum, because Burnley are not Manchester United. Even as poor as Man United have been, they deserve to win today. They wanted it more. When you saw them defending a free kick, and they're setting up their wall. They've got, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was the man on the floor behind the wall.
Mount, yeah.
They're setting up properly. They're making sure that everything is covered. They're thinking about everything way more than we were. We didn't have that man on the floor in front of the wall, because if we've got that guy there, that goal doesn't go in.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. But look, Animal, great talking to you. Hopefully catch up with you after Burnley.
You two boys, up the Palace.
Ooh, let's bring on Andy next. Andy, you got squad burnt out. So you do think fatigue definitely plays a part, but what do you make of the game today?
First half was good, actually. Well, I'd say it was even. I thought it was quite sloppy from both teams. But the amount of chances, again, we're repeating ourselves. We wasted. Reminded me a bit of Strasbourg in the week. I mean, how many more times is Mateta going to miss a 1v1? The second half, that was embarrassing. Really embarrassing. It's like we just burnt out as soon as that whistle went. The substitutes, Nketiah, I've been singing these praises in Nketiah this season, but that was his worst game. It was awful. But is that because he slotted into Sarr's position? That's not his natural position. We are going to have a problem now because Sarr left the ground on crutches. So he's going to be out until well after AFCON. I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks. It is going to be a rough couple of weeks. Because Uche is not up to the standard. I don't want to blame Uche because part of that is down to Glasner, whether he thinks he's good enough or not. But if you don't try, you don't give him the opportunity, you don't know if he's going to be good enough.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, though? Because you kind of, if it was a different manager, I might be more inclined to say, like, give the guy a chance. I mean, I was forever saying things like that about Roy when he wouldn't pick anyone but the same 11 every week, even if they were, on crutches. But I'd be like, but with Uche, you're like, so he's kind of set it out, and he said, like, you'll play if you deserve to play. Like, if there's an opportunity because of someone's injured or someone's out of form or someone's unavailable, suspended, whatever, if you're good enough and you're putting the effort in, you'll play. And there's been countless opportunities where if Uche was impressing in training and was showing the right attitude, it would have given him that shot. So, and then you started hearing all the comments from, Glasner was asked sort of directly about it, and he said, well, he expected to come here and play, and I don't see it like that. So you've already got like a conflict there. And I think there's a difference between a player expecting to play and going, okay, I've got to prove myself. I've got to tell you why I expected to play. I back myself that much. And a player who thinks, well, I wouldn't have joined if I wasn't going to play, so I'm angry about this. And reading between the lines, it seems more like the second thing with Uche, in that he's been upset by the situation rather than seeing it as a motivator. And Glasner will always go with a player who responds to adversity with positivity and says, I'm going to prove you wrong. You're not going to change his mind with anything else. You're not going to change his mind by kicking up a fuss or sulking, and he certainly ain't going to change his mind if you're brought on in a game like this and you give it anything less than 100% and make an impact, because he showed nothing today. And I'm a fan of his, by the way, Uche, as a player of potential. I think he could be a really good Premier League player, and I do know that people need opportunities, but it's a two-way street, isn't it? And that's the tricky part. But you can't argue when you haven't got players to select anyway. With Sarr out, with Nketiah's not going to perform in that role. If Pino's struggling, at a certain point you're just like, oh God, well, he's better chuck him in, sink or swim. And maybe that's the way it'll work for him. He gets an opportunity, something happens, and he does settle. I don't know. That's the kind of most positive way I can think about it.
Yeah,
well, maybe it's a change of formation. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But I think Animal mentioned it. Uche could probably play as a target guy, but then that means dropping Mateta, which he's never going to do. He's never going to do that. And if we are going to play Esse, he's not the same profile as Sarr. He doesn't have the pace and he doesn't have the power. You'd be more willing to have Esse in behind two strikers, because he has got the skill and he has got an eye for a pass, but he just doesn't have the pace. But he just won't change that formation. I think we do need a slight change up, just for the time being, until we get to the January window.
Yeah,
and I'm not even positive about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. You don't know what the club are going to do. And in January, we have to start the window very strong. Like, we can't leave it till deadline day. And Uche was a deadline day signing. So I don't know. I don't know if enough was done. Glazer clearly feels like we needed extra numbers. But in terms of Burnley then, Andy, and going forward, for December. What do you do from here onwards? You did mention Esse. I don't think Esse is going to be playing. I'll be honest. It might be nice, but he hasn't played any. He hasn't played any minutes since that Millwall game. Uche, I guess you could put him on there and about. But are you slightly concerned about the December fixture list with Sarr out?
Yeah, I am. Like I said, we either have to change the formation to accommodate what we have on the bench. Obviously, they're not the same profile players, so we can't go with the same lineup because no one's as quick and as powerful as Sarr. No one.
Yeah.
Unless there's someone in the academy that I don't know of.
I don't think there is. Otherwise, they'll probably. I don't know if they'll end up on it, to be fair, but
let's look. There's some decent players in the academy, but the club have been talking this year about the gap between the 21s and the first team. Pretty much at every level about how difficult that is. And you think of players putting chances away at that level and making an impact. You got Benji Casey at the moment, who's just stepping up into the 21s from the 18s, looking like a good player. What are you grinning at, D? I'm
laughing. I'm sorry. I just seen a quote from Glasner, and it is not good.
We'll come back to that in a sec. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Go for it. Sorry. He said, if you play for the first time in your club's history in European football, I think the right answer is invest and not save, and we saved. So that is pretty. Yeah, it's not a great. It's not a great comment when you're talking about ownership and ambitions. He seems very pissed off, and the fact that he said that out as well about we saved money and didn't invest enough is just not a good look. Not a good look.
But anyway, the point. But there's obviously good players in our youth setup, but the general thought is that they're too far away. You've got a lot of players who've been training with the first team. There's a good number of players, but no one who's really pushing, no one who's really getting on that bench. And when they were getting on the bench because of numbers, they weren't getting on the pitch, were they? So that tells you what you need to know about who's ready now. And what Glasner's talking about and what that comment he's just made there is, of course, the future matters, right? Of course, developing players matters. It has to. And it is part of a manager's job to look after the future of the football club as well as the here and now. But he's not talking about wanting to be in a position of dipping into the academy to cover gaps, and he's right when he's saying you're a European football. You've won a trophy. The last thing you want to do is go into your next season with a thin squad that can't impact games and doesn't give you options, because you will get exposed, and that has happened a little bit now. I do see the other side of that, but I don't think today on this match review there is real value in me spending hours talking about the other side of that coin, because as much as I agree with Glasner, there are other things to think about in terms of going out and buying players. But there we go. So I'll leave that there.
Yeah, let's see what happens. But Andy, great having you on, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Up Palace.
Good, Andy. Nice one. Up Palace.
Okay. If you haven't done so, people, please hit the like button. And also, that is concerning. Glasner, since Thursday, he has been talking about more players, and his quotes are getting a bit more deeper, more serious in terms of we saved money rather than investing. So he's not a happy man, and it's not a man. It's not what you want to hear from a manager when you want to sign him to a new contract. Let's just say that.
He's angry, right? He is an angry. He gets emotional. He said as much himself, right?
Yeah.
Particularly after defeats, he's kind of been quite open about the fact that he's not necessarily the most rational and calm person after a defeat, but he's not wrong. You just can't argue with that, really. But anyway, I'll let some people jump on, because I'm just doing a quick comparison of how we played against Man United versus how we played against. I've gone back to Brentford statistically, and I'm gonna treat everybody to that in a short while.
Yeah, in terms of results, Brighton are 1-0 up as well, and Liverpool just scored as well. So not the best of results for us, but yeah, let's bring on Bollocks next. Just waiting to see. Yeah, did you go to the game?
No, I watched it on a stream, which was obviously illegal because I wouldn't break the law.
No.
What did you make of the game?
It's weird, actually. I called in and I have basically nothing to disagree about with anyone that anything that Hambo said, or you, or Animal, or Andy, or anybody. But I would go further. I would say again about the point about Mitchell and Munoz. I don't blame him at all. But yeah, they when you expect them to see them in the picture, either bombing forward on an attack like they did against Strasbourg. Sometimes they were playing like centre forward, particularly Munoz. This time when I saw them today, they weren't doing their defensive or attacking duties. I'm not blaming them. They're absolutely pooped. But yeah, it is that conundrum you have. So he's obviously saying that the squad wasn't given enough quality and back with it. I don't think many of us can really argue with that. But then you've got to make something of it. You've got to do something with it. There was a long time that we didn't know that Eze would be up to it. He was kept out on the left wing by Roy for a long time. You kind of thought, okay, so when Wilf's gone, Eze is going to be the only sort of flair player we have for the next umpteen years, whatever it is. But he's got to learn the trade. Again, Mateta was tripe for 2 or 3 seasons. Like, you're going to have to stomach some poor performances from people like Uche and Pino, and maybe they will not end up being not so much, but maybe that's the way they're going to have to learn. And when the first team aren't cutting it, I do feel like that's when it happens. And at the point about the free kick and the wall was just, it was so un-Palace. It was unusual for us. And it had a bit of a mirror of the Strasbourg game. We weren't stunning in the first half. We started really badly, and they made a good save early on. Then we kind of got into it. Then I wouldn't say bossed it, but we're in control. Got the goal that we needed. Probably needed to get more, but we didn't. But we did what we could. But you could see Mateta was gassed after like even 20 minutes. He didn't even get his breathing right for the penalty, either of them. He looked pooped then. So you've got to think, right, JP, you've done your job. It's half time. We'll get you off. And Uche or Nketiah, whoever you want to put up the top, go and prove to me why he should be in the team. And give him more minutes, give him more chances. Obviously, I'm not going to say that I'm better than Glasner managing a football team, but he's got to make more use of what he does have. And if it proves that they're not up to it in January, he's got a lot more argument to then go to the board and say, right, I've given these lot a go and they're not up to it. That's my opinion. But that's all I can really add to it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking I'm off mute. Yeah, that is. But you're making a really good point, because we've talked about the bench and not being good enough and all that kind of stuff, and that's the other side of things that I'm trying not to get into too much. But like, when you're the board, when you're responsible for what you spend and what you don't, quite frankly, and you're having to think about those things in the future, there is a mismatch there. There's a mismatch between what Oliver Glasner, the football manager, wants right now and how he sees things and what he sees as important versus, the people who are running the club for the next 10 years. Because Glasner, it's not really his job to think about the 10 years. It's his job to think about now and potentially next season. Because football management, he's doing well. Like, we want to keep him. We want him to stay there. Amazing manager. But if the results go badly for 6 months, he's gone. Right? Whether we wanted to keep him, it doesn't matter now. He'd be gone if the results went badly. So it's not conducive. That isn't a conducive situation for Glasner to be sitting there being philosophical about things. So he's not going to be thinking, well, actually the club bought SA and he hasn't had the attitude that I want, and I'm not going to give him a chance, and I'm going to ostracize him, because we don't know. It's one of those things you can't prove a negative. So you can't say, had we then picked SA, gave him minutes off the bench continuously, were less harsh with him for the mistakes that he made, and nurtured him, would he be a realistic option now coming in for Sarr? Could be, right? That's what people are thinking. He isn't now because he hasn't played and he didn't do the right things. So he isn't an option. In all honesty, he's not. And we might have to chuck him in. But so the club might go, well, that's you. That's your business manager. You've got to get the best out of that player. Same with Uche. You've got to get the best out of that player. Same with Pino. You've got to get him up to speed and working now. He's who you wanted. So when he's on and off form, you've got to deal with that. That's your role. So we can't magic 20, 30, 40 million quid out of our arse. It's got to come from somewhere. And we're now playing in European competition where the the financial fair play rules are even worse, and plus we're playing in a competition where unless we win it, we're going to lose money because UEFA kicked us out of the one we should be in. So all of those things come into it, and Glasgow's going to be like, well, I don't care. Give me the tools to do my job. And so I'm on everybody's side in that sense. But I agree right now with everything that anyone's saying. We don't have a good enough squad or a big enough or a deep enough squad, and that is the fault of the people who run the club. Whether it for whatever reason it is, we all knew this start of the season. As soon as that window ended, we knew we didn't have enough players, and we also knew because Glasner was telling us we hadn't got them in early enough either. Right? For him to get what he wanted and do what he wanted, we gave him nothing. Not nothing. We just didn't give him what he needed. So this is the consequence right now, and we hope it's temporary.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know what competition we'd be in. That would be the board's argument, and it's a pretty good argument. Although you could argue, we've done it 100 times. We've spoken about that, but we're still feeling the effects of it. And yeah, it felt like Man United weren't going to score. It felt like if we weathered the first 10 minutes and then coming at us in the second half, it was there for the taking. They scored. You thought, okay, they were only going to score with a goal like that, and they kind of repeated the same thing again. You thought, bloody hell, we don't. And we let in from set pieces like that, as you pointed out before, with Richards in the way and about 5 or different opportunities to stop those goals happening. But they're kind of free goals. But we've had it twice in a week. To lose from being in the lead, it's taking more than just blaming the board for their summer window. I'm not going to slag off Glasner much. I'm just saying, like, he didn't just spend the whole time in the full officials there like some managers would do when they got no answers. He wasn't like a Slot or Marco Silva. He wasn't just blaming the full officials for it, but he was sat there with no real ideas. Is that because he's got no options off the bench? Is it because he didn't know what to do tactically? But he was sulking. I don't think I've seen Glasner sulk before, and I saw him kick the water bottles, and I saw him moan at Nketiah, and he had reasons for all those things to do those things. But normally, you just see him sort of take a breath and sort it out. And as you say, sometimes he admits himself, he gets too passionate and too extreme in his views after defeat. But even during the game now, I was like, come mate, get your head back in it. We can work out how to beat this lower league mid-table muck that knocked out by Grimsby. And a lot of it is that they weren't in Europe, so they had that extra freshness, they had that extra few days to study our tactics. That's shown a few times already this season. And Nick made a point last time about Burnley and Swansea just couldn't cope with the European schedule. And also, they didn't really back themselves much in the market either those times. So we're not going to have a season, hopefully, as dreadful as they do. But it is a frustration that this is our last roll of dice, probably, with Glasner. And we haven't backed him, but equally, he's not maybe using the squad as he should have done, which is one of the reasons that I think he lost one of his jobs in Germany. Indeed. But I'm also totally with you, Chris. They can sit down, they can analyse it all. They can try and get it right before Burnley, which won't be easy because they're very tough at home, especially defensively. And we'll see what we're made of up there, and hopefully get the early goals. And if we're playing a more championship level team, maybe someone like Eze or Uche can shine against them.
Indeed, and the confidence is a big thing, isn't it? So if we get a result against Burnley, things can look a lot brighter. Is that your dog in the background? Are you walking your dog to something?
No, there's tons. I was sat on a bench in the park with no one around, and all of a sudden dozens of dog walkers came along. But no, I used to have dogs. I love them. I miss them, but they're not mine. They are quite noisy though.
Yeah,
but they're having a nice day.
It's that Truman Show thing, isn't it? The second you stop, everyone suddenly appears. So like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Truman Show, Dio? Have you seen that? Were you too young?
No.
Jim Carrey, remember him?
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's worth a watch.
Yeah.
It's better than watching Palace against Man United again, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. I'm just looking at other scores. That's what I'm looking at. But yeah, look, Chris, great having you on.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Take care. Let's bring on Mason next. Mason, 2-1 defeat against United at home. What was your thoughts on the game?
Not good, mate. Not good. Look, let's face reality. 1 point from 12 in Premier League straight after a European game. Obviously, I just heard the quote that you said about what Glass is saying after the game. It's not a good look about how we should have invested rather than save. We saved. It's just not looking good. And I think that second half especially really should give an incentive for us to actually go out and spend seriously in this window, not wait until about, I don't know, the 20th of January and then maybe sign a £15 million bench warmer, and then, you know, everyone will forget about how we were calling for the first 3 weeks of us make a signing, you know, because that's happened before. Yeah, it was just about the performance today. Obviously, missing not sitters, but missing one-on-ones cost us. Yeah, it was just a combination of errors, really. And the goals that we let in today. I know Xerxes' goal was from a really good angle, but the amount of time he had was insane. And the wall was a disgrace for Mount's goal. So, yeah, just a combination of errors, really.
Yeah, it was a disgrace. But the second half, do you think it was a case of fatigue playing a part then? Because we barely created anything in the first half. Yes, we missed chances, but in the second half, could we even say the same thing? I don't think we created any chances.
No, we didn't. That second half, no, I think that is one of the worst second halves I've watched under Glasner. To be honest, in terms of how much we created, we didn't create a thing. You know, I was sitting there on my own channel for about the last 1-2 weeks, turning around and saying, well, hold on, we've got about £40 million in transfer value sat on that bench in SA, Devaney and Uche. Use them. And especially when Uche came on, I know Devaney didn't have a lot of time, but when Uche came on, I was like, I can see why that he's not really being used. And I actually said it when he came on for the last 5 minutes I think it was against Arsenal. And obviously we didn't create much in that game either. But I was like, you know what? He's a little bit of a threat, you know. He's got something about him. And then today, he didn't create anything. But, yeah, again, like that second half was abysmal, really. You wouldn't have thought that we'd have gone 2-1 down. As soon as Mount scored, I could tell. I was like, well, that's game done. Because we weren't creating nothing.
Yeah, I thought the same as well. But what do you do then if you're Oliver Glasner from here till January? Because there's a lot of games to be played, including a quarter-final tie against Arsenal without Ismail Assar. I mean, what can you do?
This is where it's disappointing because, you know, you look back at those games against Larnaca and Strasbourg and you'd be like, well, if we got results in them games, you can take the Shelburne and Cups games out of it and be like, well, this is where SA, Uche, Devaney can get their opportunity because we may have qualified by then. We may have been fine in the table. But now we've got to go in those games all guns blazing as well. So, yeah, I mean, the question's massive in terms of what you do. I mean, in terms of without Ismail Assar against Burnley, I think you've got no other option but to play Kamada in that 10 along with Pino with Mateta up front and then maybe start one of Hughes or Lerma against Burnley. I can't see any other way. And if that works, then we can maybe go with that. But it's inevitable with the fatigue setting in, like you said, and with the amount of games we have in December, that one of them players we may bring in may get injured as well. We may be like really, really threadbare come January. And this is why I said, because you look at everyone's going on about the fixtures for December. I haven't heard enough people talking about January. Between the 1st and I think the weekend of the 10th of January, we've got 4 games. We've got Fulham, Newcastle, Villa in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. So it doesn't stop after December. It doesn't stop. This is why I'm saying that these actions in the window need to come now, not the last week of the window like it has for the last few of them.
And that's a really good point, Mason, because, you know, we know what Palace do. It's, you know, the best values at the last moment, but Glasner can't be any clearer now, can he, on saying that isn't good enough. You know, we've got to be window open, signings straight off. You know, again, you might pick up 1 or 2 late in the window for value or for the future, right? But in terms of what the squad need right now, it needs doing on that first day. And if it costs more, it costs more. You know, and I appreciate it's not my money, and I appreciate you've got to justify these things. But, you know, again, we're trying. Steve Parish has gone on record as saying that getting Glasner in and doing what we're doing was going to get us to that next level. And it did in terms of winning a trophy, getting into Europe. But he made that decision. The group of owners made that decision. So now they've got to live by that decision. And that decision means spending money, giving the manager what he wants. And no, money does not necessarily equal success, but giving your manager what he wants will equal success when he has proven that that is the case. And I think that's where we are.
Yeah,
by the way,
think...
back to you. Go on, no, carry on.
Sorry. You look at Glasner's attitude towards the season. I mean, you know, August we had the drama with Cass and whatever, but this is where I'm a bit on Steve Parish's case, even though he has provided success in a way with the FA Cup. We knew that we was going to be in some kind of European competition since the 11th of July. When UEFA gave us that ruling, we knew that we was going to be at least in the Conference League. So from that point on, I know some players would have probably turned around and gone, well, I don't know if I'm playing in the Europa League or the Conference League. I'm going to wait a bit, and maybe we was rejected when Cass finally gave their decision. I know it was late and a disgrace and whatever. We've talked about that. But I feel like we should have been more prepared because, like I said, 1 point from 12 after Europe. And people may look at those separate games and go, well, Arsenal away, you can't do much about that. And okay, in some instances, I'm inclined to agree they are a top side. But Everton away, it's the same sort of thing as this. Took the lead, missed chances, they go and score twice. It's a bit of a pattern now, and obviously it happened against Strasbourg as well. Yeah, I think it's just error after error, and I think it has shown how far we have come, though. If we want to put a bit of a positive on this, like I think right now we're 8th in the league. If you looked at the window, me personally, if you'd have said you're going into December 8th in the league, you know, all right, mid-table in the Conference League, I'd be a bit disappointed. But quarter-final with the Carabao Cup as well, I'd go, well, I'll take that. But for me, sitting here now, disappointed, I think showing how far we have come in a way. So if you want to put a positive on it, then there you go.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mason, great talking to you. Hopefully catch up with you again soon.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you.
Yes. Just a quick point, D. I don't know if we've got anyone else queuing. I've got to go fairly soon as well. But I just want to make a quick point on something that we haven't touched on, because I looked at a few games statistically that Palace have played, and I was looking at like what's changed, what's the pattern that's changed. Obviously, if I had more time, I'd have more analysis. But I thought what's really interesting to me is in terms of how we attack and how we defend. Like, so your mind today would go, fight the front three aren't firing on all cylinders, right? The front three have done a worse job than they were a few weeks ago. We're making more defensive errors, but statistically, we're actually doing the same things in terms of how we defend and how we attack. What has dropped off is in our distribution and how we approach the game. So I'll credit Man United tactically for this today. Obviously, two systems very similar that played today, right? We played long and direct far less than we have been all season. Like we stopped hitting the channels. We've stopped hitting Mateta and holding the ball up. We were trying to play through Man United too often, and we were trying to move it quickly. We actually almost tried to do today what Strasbourg did against us, which was really quick balls, turning it round, and that's where we got the penalty from Wharton's really quick ball, right? But our distribution today, our passing accuracy, the number of forward passes versus sideways and backwards, all of that has dropped off. And that tells you today that we really didn't find our rhythm, and we certainly didn't have the confidence on the ball to play it forward when we could. You know, a safe pass and let Man United press us and come to us. And they did that really well today. So our distribution, our direct play, and the amount of passes we made in that final third, particularly inaccurate passes, that's where the drop-off is. And you know, I think it's worth pointing out because we focus so hard on the missed chances. We've been creating those opportunities continuously, and we will continue to create them. What we haven't been doing as well is actually our general play, our general passing, our general distribution, and that probably goes hand in hand with movement and potentially the fatigue situation. So there you go. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about that.
No, it was an interesting point. Let's bring on Alex. Alex,
hey.
Defeat, another one. Back to, I don't know, last time we've had back-to-back defeats, to be fair. But what's your thoughts on the game?
It's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, it's been since April, but yeah, That I remember that, and then we went on a run of 21 undefeated. So
19,
that's
19.
not happening. That's not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. A few things. I think it's. I'm probably going to be like one of the only ones to mention this, but I thought it was pretty like calling out the wall for what it was on the second goal is kind of harsh when Jones blows for them to kick it when we're still setting up the wall. I thought not to say that he can't do that. Like if he thinks it's taking too long, he has the right to do that. So I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I think what annoyed me about today was after the second goal, like little things, just like do you remember when Richards like put his leg out and just tripped Dallow? They didn't call it, but it should have been a yellow. Like he would have been through on goal. Like it's little things like that that we weren't doing before. Like I don't know. Like it just seems to me like even players like him are just making, I don't know, tired decisions and stuff like that. What do you guys think? Like, were you noticing some things even in the back where we just looked like we didn't know what to do, like at the end?
I just
Yeah.
think, I think there was a kind of, I sort of said it earlier. I can't quite give you a real specific, other than to say we didn't have the same level once we conceded the equaliser. You didn't see what you usually see with Palace, which is we go straight back at them, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yep.
amazing how quickly we would turn that around. When we conceded the second, you felt the energy drain from the players. You didn't
Yeah.
look at them and think, earlier in the year it was this. Well, we never know when to give up. We'll score late goals, all this kind of stuff. I think I knew personally, like the reaction from the players from the kickoff after we conceded the second. I would have bet my life savings at that game we would not
We
score a goal.
lost. Yeah.
It was just
Yep.
that's gone. That game's gone, and I shouldn't feel like that. But it came from looking
Yeah.
at how the players reacted. So
I'm trying to think. Maybe Nottingham Forest last year was the last time I felt that way when we were down a goal and trying to come back where we just had nothing, and I just felt like we always had nothing. It's been a long time. Even Everton, I guess, but that wasn't a lot of time when we had. I thought Uche, Nketiah, and Mateta together was really strange and not something good to look at. I know so much of what we do oftentimes is lumping it to Mateta and hoping he catches it. But having three players like that and not being able to get any sort of like foothold up deep was really hurting us. I thought it was really weird to see all three of them together, and I thought I don't want to see that again. No offense to Uche. I think you just don't put all three players up top. I thought that was really desperate of him. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts playing Munoz up in the 10. I remember him finishing games that way a few times last year, and we're starting to get to that point where that's how we're going to see out a game or something like that. He's very particular in how he wants people to play, and Munoz plays like a 10. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think I'll go with Mason's suggestion before that. I think we'll see Kamada in the
Kamada.
10.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't mind that. I think that Kamada is better obviously as like somebody who can pass forwards and backwards and not being the 10, but I don't know. I think today was really disheartening. More disheartening than Strasbourg. I know we didn't play well at the end against Strasbourg, but we at least had a few chances. And this one, I can't think of a single one. And that's United did a great job of playing keep away at the end, where we just looked like we were chasing shadows at the end, and that's with 5 subs out at the end. We still look like we were chasing shadows. Yeah.
What
So
do you think about Burnley?
so I think with Burnley, no one's mentioned this, but this is going to be the most like Tuesday at Stoke game that we're gonna have, where you gotta see who's got like who's willing to take the energy on a game like that, like, and actually do something with it? It's just, it's going to be a weird one. I don't know what the energy and the atmosphere is going to be like in the away end. I don't know if like we've got what it takes to even, beat a team like that on 3 days rest. I'm not sure. I'm not so pessimistic that I think we're going in a downward spiral, but I know that we are fighting a battle that's really hard to win, especially when you don't have depth. And, some of that obviously is self-imposed, and some of that we will never have the depth that a top 6 team will have. We just never will. So,
But it's not even about top 6 side. We just need depth, in my
I
opinion.
know. We need
Right now,
basic
we have no
depth.
attackers. We have
People
no.
that
We
you
have each
can
stage
put
of
out for
any.
20 minutes
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah,
That actually can do something. One other thing I wanted to mention before I get off, because I know there's been a lot of people talking. You guys have been on for a while, but it's starting to get really annoying that we have scored 0 goals with our midfielders, and not for lack of trying. Like, Wharton has a really nice chance on the shot and he kicks it right at the goalie. Kamada has a really nice chance of the one-timer and he kind of scuffs it. Like, it's just this is almost 2 years of this. How have we not scored a goal with the midfielder? This is freaking weird.
Yeah. Well, you think about the players we've got. Hughes, doesn't really score too often.
Right.
Lerma will score an
Lerma
absolute
scored
screamer
quite a bit at
once.
Bournemouth, at least.
But
at
since
times.
being with us, it's like once or twice, isn't it? Absolute screamer, and then nothing. And then Wharton, he's struggling. He's missed an open goal, and today he's hit it too well, if anything. So,
Right.
but you can't be reliant on those types of players.
I know.
Where
but
you look at where I will
yeah.
call out a player, I will call out Kamada for his lack of goals for sure, especially as he does spend a bit of time in a 10.
Absolutely.
Pino's only got one since joining us. Great goal, in the previous Premier League game, but still, not really a great return.
Yeah, weird game from Pino where I didn't feel like he did anything particularly wrong when he was out there. I think he had like a bicycle kick that almost got Richards a shot, but like I can't remember too much either. And when you've played for 70 minutes and we had so much of the ball or so many other chances, it's kind of weird that he wasn't a part of it. Yeah.
It was another frustrating performance from Pino, in my opinion, as well. So
definitely.
Yeah, let's see what happens. But Alex, great having you on. And
what do you think? Do we have the stones to win Stoke on a Tuesday? I'm not sure.
I mean, if we don't beat Burnley, then geez, that'll be impressive. That'll be impressive.
I'm gonna call it. I think we will.
Fair
I think we will. But I want to see an angry team. No matter what happens, I want us to be angry.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
I feel like United wanted a bit more in the second half, and I think.
Oh hell yeah!
It was a bit annoying to watch.
Look at how Shaw comes back on the Nketiah shot. I know Nketiah should get that shot off. It's his fault that he doesn't. But that's what you want. You want somebody hustling that much. And I thought, quite a few players on United did do that. Yeah.
You compare, as I said earlier, you compare that chance to United's first goal. You compare the defending and the attitude between those two moments, and you've got your answer as to why we lost the game today, in my opinion.
Especially the first goal. First goal is so self-imposed that you don't make yourself bigger, and Richards doesn't get to the line in time. Like there's just a lot of like domino effect on that one. Yeah.
Let's see what happens. All right, take care, Alex.
Yeah, take care, man.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up there. If you have enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and subscribe. Go on, Humber.
Just before we go, it's been a very negative show, and you sound really depressed, and I don't like it. So I just want to leave everybody on a positive, right? And I can't take because the positives have been like, oh, just think of where we are as a club, blah blah blah. Isn't it weird to be upset about a defeat to Man United? Or I'm not really interested in those kinds of positives. So I just want to take us away from football, D, and I want to find something that you want you to talk about something that you like. I want to hear you happy. What are you having for dinner?
I don't know. I'm not too sure what I'm having for dinner. What are you having for dinner?
I'm making a beef stir fry because I'm too fat. But what I would really like to have is I'd really like a Morley's. Can you have a Morley's for me?
I'll do it. Why not?
Yeah.
I know, yeah. When you have free will, then you can have anything
Yeah.
you want.
Oh,
Yeah.
and when you do have this Morley's, can you annoy them by asking if they have the Morley's sauce? Because they don't. The one near you, they don't have it.
Okay.
And then
I
so when they
haven't
say,
been to the one near me, so it's funny that you
Just-
know about this more than I
yeah,
do. But
and ask them. And when they say no, just go, but your Morley's, and then
I think the
it's all-
guy, if
it's
he's a
awkward,
Palace fan, he
yeah.
might just scrap. He might just want to scrap if I say that.
It's true,
I'll pick him
yeah,
up over the edge.
yeah. He
But I
wasn't
don't
happy.
think they sport Morleys.
Yeah, he wasn't
I don't
happy.
think they sport Morleys. I don't think they sport Palace. I think they do sport
Yeah.
Morleys if they're Morleys. It's
Yeah.
like Palace are sporting Palace. But yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, let's just wrap up. Take care, people. We'll be back with the player ratings and
Up the Morleys.
up the Morleys.